Five, four, three, two.
It's good, y'all. Welcome back to Niner Wire. I'm your host, Sam, and today we are here for Mock Draft Monday. This is the final Mock Draft Monday of this series. By the way, if you guys are wondering about the lack of uploads, I've been busy with a lot of stuff lately, so forgive me. But guys, it's draft week. I'm so hyped for this week. Lots of stuff going on. You guys are getting a stream today. You guys are getting a stream tomorrow. You guys are getting a live mailbag podcast on Talking Niners on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday or Saturday. We're going to have some draft recap stuff. You might see me on a few channels for a day 3 stream. I can't do day 1, day 2, unfortunately. I'll make sure to plug some guys on Twitter. But anyways, we're talking about Mock Draft Monday. Today is a community mock draft. I have 2 guests to help me with this mock draft. We have Rohit, a usual for the channel. We got a new guest right here, Adam. What's good, guys? How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. What about you, Adam?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Guys, today's going to be a fun day. So if I pull up the stream right here, or the screen, I should say, right there. We're doing a 1-round mock for all 32 teams. We're going to be mocking everything. We're not going to do trades, except we're going to give a 3-minute pick timer to make sure we save time. Some of those picks are going to go a lot faster than others, but we'll have some fun debates, fun arguments, everything like that. Should be a really fun stream. And let's get into it. But before we do, make sure to follow me on Twitter at NinerWireSam. My Instagram is at NinerWire_YT. If your guys are watching on Twitter, make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube, NinerWire. Post a lot of stuff, mainly on Twitter and YouTube. I haven't posted on Instagram since September, maybe. I don't know why that's still in there. I just keep it in there. But anyways, Twitter, YouTube, those are where you guys can find me most of the time. Also, got to check out Talking Niners Pod. As I said, we're doing a live episode on Wednesday on YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is also Talking Niners. Make sure to follow that and follow our Twitter at Talking Niners Pod. Also, follow Rohit on Twitter at RohitKanan71. He posts a lot of great stuff there too. And as always, you got any questions, comments, concerns, make sure to leave them in the chat. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So as we can see, we're selected all the teams. We're doing 1-round mock. The speed doesn't matter because we're really controlling everything. So let's just get right to it. With the Jacksonville Jaguars, this should be an easy pick, guys. Can we all agree that this is Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, let's keep moving here.
All right, perfect. And number 2, this also seems pretty easy. Zach Wilson?
Yeah,
Zach Wilson.
Consensus.
Perfect. Yeah, Zach Wilson. People are saying that it could be a field surprise. I'm not buying it at this point. Zach Wilson seems like the guy. In my opinion, he is the better quarterback than Fields. Adam, I'm interested to hear what's your quarterback ranking for the draft, because I know I've talked to Rohit about this. I want to hear from you. What do you think for the quarterback rankings?
Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is number 1. That's very clear. I'm a huge Justin Fields guy, but from what I've seen from Zach Wilson, he's also a super impressive up-and-coming star. I didn't hear too much about Zach Wilson before this season, and he came in and was absolutely lights out for BYU. So he's going to take my 2 spot, followed very, very closely by Justin Fields, very closely, who unfortunately is getting sort of a little bit of like weird hate. I don't know if you guys, speaking of the hate, did you guys see what Chris Sims said today? He mocked Justin Fields 32 to Tampa. It's ridiculous. Which is ridiculous.
Why?
I don't get it.
At the end of the day, Justin Fields did lead a good Ohio State team past Trevor Lawrence's Clemson Tigers and into the championship against, obviously, an unstoppable force in Alabama. But I don't understand why Justin Fields is being doubted as an NFL quarterback so much.
I mean, I will say, I think teams must be concerned about the 2 things from him. His pocket presence is the one thing on tape that definitely concerns you. And you see that in the Northwestern game. The Indiana game was worse than that. I was talking to a few people yesterday. Those 2 games, a lot of people are focusing on because they were from this season. Ohio State did not have that many games, and they're just focusing on those 2 games. I'll be honest, I did that earlier in this process. But now you can watch more of these games. You see what Justin Fields can do. He has a great arm. He's mobile in the pocket. Pocket presence, yes, it could go up a little bit, but Justin Fields is definitely my QB3. So I'm with you, Adam, on that, about your top 3. And after that, I would assume it's Lance and Mac Jones, something like that.
Yeah, those 2 right there, Trey Lance and Mac Jones. Yep.
Definitely. And Rohit, for you, what you got for your top 5?
I mean, honestly, I'm really tempted to go Fields number one, but honestly,
Really?
I gotta give it to Lawrence. I mean, overall, if you look at his overall skill set, if you look at it, what he's accomplished at Clemson, it's a no brainer. Lawrence got to be number one, but I'm a huge Fields fan. I love watching him play. His mobility, his playmaking, his toughness. He's my QB2. Zach Wilson is a very close QB3 though. Like Adam said, dude was absolutely lights out for BYU, and he was just amazing. And then followed by Lance and then Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'll just repeat this. I've said this multiple times. Lawrence is the clear-cut number one in my opinion. I just think you see all of that. It's kind of ridiculous what he does. To Zach Wilson, I'm a guy who likes to take the ceiling a little bit. And you look at Zach Wilson, in my opinion, he has a higher ceiling than Trey. Well, no, not. I would say Trey Lance has the higher ceiling, but Zach Wilson has the higher floor and the much higher floor than Trey Lance. So I think he's a bit safer, but closely behind that is Trey Lance. I do have him over Fields because I think they do have relatively the same floor. Lance does have the higher ceiling, in my opinion. And then number 4, you got Justin Fields, and then it's the Grand Canyon, and you have Mac Jones. And let's just move into the Niners pick. I need to start the stopwatch. Let's talk about the Niners pick. I don't even know if
boy.
Stopwatch, but as Bay Area Baller 18 says right here, he'll be on tomorrow, guys. Make sure to check that out. He'll be on tomorrow. Great content coming from him. But anyways, I don't get the Mac Jones at 3, and this is really concerning me. And obviously, I had the presser today. Lots of the questions were about Mac Jones. And, I mean, I don't get it. Rohit, you're the Niners fan. Tell me and you go to Alabama, so tell me your thoughts on Mac Jones.
I mean, honestly, here's the thing. Mac Jones is not a scrub. But if you look at him, if you look at his play, you look at what he does in the Alabama offense, it's honestly not exactly eye-popping. Sure, the numbers are there, but you look at what he has to work with. When you watch the film, when you watch the games, look at the pocket he has. Some plays, John Chapman did a thing on this on Twitter either earlier today or sometime yesterday. There is probably a 6-yard gap between the closest defender and Mac. And then there's about like 10 yards of separation for a wide receiver. I mean, he has so much talent at Alabama. It's pretty much you're set up to succeed, and if you fail, you're just bad.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to beat out Tua Tagovailoa. He wasn't able to beat out Jalen Hurts. And this year, during whatever spring off-season training that we had, because 2020 was 2020, he nearly lost the starting job to Bryce Young, a true freshman. I mean, he's not a scrub, but at the same time, I don't get the sudden Mac Jones love. And what's even weirder is that he's suddenly being mocked at 3 after we traded up to 3. Before then, nobody even had him in the top 15, or at the lowest, they had him going to 15 to the Patriots.
Yeah, and I think the only reason, by the way, Mac Jones, I don't hate Mac Jones. Mac Jones at 3, I hate Mac Jones. You have Justin Fields, you have Trey Lance. Those are 2 better quarterbacks, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion. I don't really get to see how Mac Jones is better. And my other thing, Mac Jones, yes, you love that floor that he has. He definitely has one of the higher floors for the quarterback class. But the Niners just traded 3 first to get 3. You swung for the fences already, and now you're going to choke up? That doesn't make sense. You got to keep swinging for the fences. And that's why I don't get. That's why you saw that report yesterday from Ian Rappaport saying it was either Lance or Jones. I think it's Lance. And then today you just saw that in that presser that Kyle Shanahan will not tell everyone. He was dodging every question possible. Mm-hmm. The only information that we got was Mike McGlinchey's 5th-year option was extended. Shout out to Grant Cohn for that. But, yeah, that's really all we have for the 3rd pick. That's what I got to say. You got anything?
Yeah. Looking at it, if we're doing this mock draft based on who should be going 3rd overall to the 49ers, Justin Fields is the right pick.
Easily.
Now, unfortunately, we've gotten a lot of reports that don't have Justin Fields' name on them. And it looks like the Niners are going to be going with either Trey Lance or Mac Jones. And from what I've seen, it sounds like Coach Shanahan is far more enamored with Mac Jones, but the front office and the owners are far more into Trey Lance. Now, I think Trey Lance would be the better pick if those are the 2 that they're choosing off of. And it's going to be an interesting battle to see who wins that. I think they're going to ultimately go with Trey Lance.
All right, we got one vote, Trey Lance. Rohit, what's your vote for this pick?
I mean, honestly, there's a chance that this entire thing could be a smokescreen. I mean, we saw this before last year after the 49ers traded DeForest Buckner to Indianapolis to get the 13th pick. Nobody knew who it was going to be. Was it going to be a wide receiver? Was it going to be Javon Kinlaw? We didn't know. And obviously ended up being Javon Kinlaw that we traded up to get a wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk. Smokescreens all around. 2019. All the headlines were about the dinner that the 49ers had with Quinnen Williams. And we end up picking Bosa. I mean, obviously Bosa was the obvious pick, but there is a precedent for the 49ers just blowing smoke for the sake of blowing smoke. For as much as this could be Fields, it's a genuine chance that this could be Fields, but honestly, I'm going to go with Adam here. I'm going Trey Lance.
All right, 2 votes, Trey Lance. I would probably go Trey Lance as well. I do think that Fields is the better pick, but from what we've seen, we're mocking Trey Lance to the 49ers at 3. All right, Atlanta at 4. This is probably the most interesting pick in the draft. You have Pitts there. You have Fields there. Personally, it's tough. It's definitely between one of those two, in my opinion. Adam, I'll start with...
Honestly, I want to bring in another interesting point.
Go ahead.
There have been rumors saying that the Falcons are looking to trade Julio Jones.
Oh.
That too, yes.
If they trade Julio Jones, I will not be surprised if Ja'Marr Chase is selected here. If they trade away Julio Jones.
I actually do think that Ja'Marr Chase is going to go 4, not to Atlanta. I think somebody in my last mock draft, I mocked Detroit trading up to get a guy like Ja'Marr Chase. That makes a lot of sense. I would not be surprised if a team traded up with Atlanta for Ja'Marr Chase, not a quarterback. That could very much be in play. I wouldn't mock it to Atlanta at 4, considering that Julio Jones is, yes, you've seen the rumors, but he's still on the team. I would play it safe here. That's why I would go Pitts.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's an interesting thought just to put out there.
It's a fun storyline to watch.
Absolutely.
I look at the Falcons pick, and when I did my last mock draft an hour ago, I sat there and I'm looking at the Falcons and I go, God, I really don't know who they can pick. This is such an offense-heavy draft. It's loaded with offensive talent. And what's funny is the Falcons offensively are in a pretty good place. They have Matt Ryan, who's still the Iceman. Yeah, he's been shaky over the past couple of years, but you know he still has that talent. You still have Julio Jones, who could he be traded? Yes. Do I think he's going to be? No. And you still have Calvin Ridley. Like, you have a lot of good offensive weapons, and that's an okay offensive line. It's not a travesty like the rest of the league. So I don't know where they can really go with the offense. I had them trading down and swapping with New England in the last draft, and I had New England flipping up here and taking Justin Fields. But obviously, we're not going to be doing trading here. So I think they're just going to go with the best guy on the board that sort of still fits their needs, and that's going to be Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. I'm also going to go Kyle Pitts here. I'm
going Kyle Pitts.
You do look at their offense. My thing with Atlanta, you look at their offense, and you got the receivers. You might add another one later in the draft. It's a deep receiver class, so I definitely think you can add one later in the draft. But tight end has been a big need for this team. You lost Austin Hooper. It doesn't appear that Hayden Hurst is the guy. It's too early for a running back to go off the board. You could see a running back probably round 2. But so Kyle Pitts seems like a really smart pick here for the Atlanta Falcons. I would not be surprised. Apparently they love Trey Lance, but he's off the board. If Trey Lance is there, I think Trey Lance could be the pick at 4 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah.
That's a good situation for him. Have him sit behind Matt Ryan for a year and then have him cut loose the next year.
Well, look, they might again, we've got a lot of smoke screens. They might trade down, or I wouldn't be shocked if they take Justin Fields. Have him sit behind Matt Ryan, mentor role, and you train the next Atlanta Falcons quarterback.
It's a new coach, new GM. That could very much happen. I can definitely see that.
They might want their guy.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals at pick 5. And this pick, right now, for me, it's between Ja'Marr Chase and Penei Sewell. I think it's Ja'Marr Chase. And here's
I'm going Penei Sewell.
I'm going to agree with Rohit.
Okay, so we're going to take Sewell. I'll explain my Chase pick right here. They have 2 starting tackles in Riley Reiff and Jonah Williams. Why take another tackle? Why can't we just wait until we can get a guard later in the draft? Like a Tevin Jenkins maybe, or a Alex Leatherwood could play guard. Wyatt Davis could be another guy. Elijah Vera Tucker could fall. You've also seen in past drafts guys like Rashawn Slater and guys like Elijah Vera Tucker who can play anywhere on the line have been falling because teams don't know where they can play. That could be a very good pick for the Cincinnati Bengals if one of those guys falls. So I definitely think it would be Jamar Chase, but you guys are saying Sewell. So one of you guys talk to me why you think Penei Sewell is the pick at 5.
No.
And I think we all know why, but how about somebody
So,
explain it for the viewers?
Look, they had the first overall pick last year, and they took their new franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. Now, I like the reunite him with Jamar Chase, give him back that weapon. But the Bengals have T. Higgins, who's a solid weapon. They have Tyler Boyd, good receiver. I don't know if wide receiver is the angle they want to play. Now, their offensive line was not very good last season. And yes, they do have 2 tackles that they've drafted highly on and have worked to develop and make sure that, they could be longstanding pillars on that line. It hasn't seemed to really taken. And I think they're going to look at this season and this draft pick and go, we can get a guy who's really should be like the number 2 overall pick. And we're going to get him at number 5 in Penei Sewell.
Yeah, I do think Penei Sewell, he is the best offensive lineman in this draft. So, when you look at a guy like Penei Sewell, the one guy that I can compare his film to as a Niners fan, Trent Williams. This dude's Trent Williams 2.0. And they would probably kick a guy like Riley Reif inside, move Joni Williams to the right side, I would think, because Penei Sewell, in my opinion, is a left tackle. So that's what I would probably do. If you look at it on paper, I think Jamar Chase makes a bit more sense. But considering what they need, I can definitely see Penei Sewell go here. It's definitely between Chase, Pitts, or Sewell, in my opinion, at pick 5. I don't think there's any other options out there.
Totally agree.
All right, let's move on to pick number 6, the Miami Dolphins, who traded with Philadelphia. This is going to be a receiver. And how about I'll start off with Rohit. What receiver do you think it's going to be, or do you think that's another surprise?
Honestly, given the way this mock draft is going, we still have Jamar Chase on the board. In my opinion, he is wide receiver 1 in this draft class. I do think it's a rather crowded top 3 of him, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith, but I think Jamar Chase is a bit more well-rounded as a receiver. So I think Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in this class and the first wide receiver off the board at number 6 to Miami.
Yeah.
What you got? You agree with that?
I'm going to second that one. Jamar Chase is a talented receiver, obviously, and you got to give Tua some real weapons. Tua was not working with much this season in terms of offensive weaponry. The real reason the Dolphins were even close to the playoffs was really because their defense stepped up big time. Their offensive play was not great, but I think giving Tua Tagovailoa that true number 1 receiver option will be a huge boost for next season.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Chase as well. I do think it seems like the consensus in the draft is that most teams think he's the wide receiver 1. So I think Devontae Smith should be in the conversation. It seems like everyone's really concerned about his size, so we could see him fall. But I'm going to go Jamar Chase here at 6. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Miami Dolphins. And speaking of Devontae Smith, does he go here at 7, or is it Jalen Waddle? Also could be Micah Parsons as well. Those are the 3 names I've seen mock to the Lions. Adam, how about you start this off? Who do you got for the Detroit Lions at 7?
So I watched Devonta Smith big time this season. He was just fun to watch. Obviously, he won the Heisman, which for a wide receiver is an incredible feat. But his size is a bit of a concern to me. Jalen Waddle was also hurt for most of that Alabama football season. And I had heard before the season, Jalen Waddle is the number 1 receiver down in Alabama. Now, obviously, he got hurt, clearing the way for Devonta, but I still think he is the number 1 receiver from Alabama. And I think he's the top receiver on the board. The Lions just lost Kenny Golladay to my New York Giants. I think you're going to see Jalen Waddle in a Lions uniform come September.
Roth, Bama guy, what you got to say about that?
I'm with Adam here. Jalen Waddle was our wide receiver 1. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. You lose a wide receiver 1, you gain a guy who has the ability to be a wide receiver 1 from day 1.
I'm totally with you. I think Jalen Waddle, I would go Devontae Smith here, but I think you look, if what it should be, I think it should be Devontae Smith. But then you got the reports that teams are concerned about his size. He was wide receiver 1 at Alabama. Waddle, I'm talking about right there. I think Waddle makes a lot of sense at pick number 7. One guy we didn't talk about, as 49er Media says right here, could they go Rashawn Slater? You saw a mock saying that
the line like actually
they have Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, whatever the guy's name, the Pacific Islander guy, whatever his name is. He has that really long name. Vaitai, yeah, Vaitai. I always just remember the first name, not the last name. I do think I saw Peter King's mock today. It was shout out to Vish for showing me this. Vish commented a few things right there, but Peter King mocked Sewell 7 to Detroit because he was the best player available. I think a lot of teams do have Rashawn Slater very high on their board as well, from what I've heard. I can definitely see this happening, but I think you look at Detroit, their receiver situation is terrible right now. I think you need to go receiver right there.
Yeah, their offensive line is it's fine for now. They've actually, it's a fairly talented offensive line. Hopefully everybody performs to where they should and they can avoid injury. But they brought in Jared Goff, and brought in might be a strong word there. But they really got rid of Matthew Stafford. And you're bringing in a new quarterback who's trying to get off to a fresh start. Give him a true wide receiver 1.
Exactly. That's my thing right there with pick number 7. All right, pick number 8. This is another interesting pick. The Carolina Panthers. So you have Justin Fields on the board. I'm not going to go Justin Fields. I'm going to take Rashawn Slater. It could be Micah Parsons too. I'm going to say Rashawn Slater for now. The Panthers did lose. Russell Okung's not coming back. They do have some holes on that offensive line, and you brought in Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, this is the reason I think they're going to go offensive line. You don't give up a 2, 4, and a 6 to bench Sam Darnold. That's your franchise quarterback going forward. So that's why I think quarterback's out of the question at 8. I think they have their quarterback. They're moving forward. Now you need protection for him. I think Rashawn Slater, best one on the board. I think you take him at pick 8.
100% agree. That's too much. That's too high of a price to pay for drafting another QB just to either sit the QB or sit the QB you traded for. Mm-hmm. You get the offensive line help for your new quarterback who's also looking for a fresh start.
Yep. Sam Darnold is 100% looking for that fresh start, and the Jets never really gave him much offensive line help until the end. Same thing with any real receiver help or running back help. And looking at, so to me, the Carolina Panthers will most likely trade down. I don't think they have a full use for that 8 pick. And I think that there are going to be a couple teams down in that, 14 to 19 range that might want to jump in here. Yeah, Washington's a big one.
Yeah, Brian said Washington. Denver. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver just moved up 1 pick to get a quarterback.
Wouldn't be shocked either.
Also, you could get a guy like, a team like New England, maybe Chicago moves up. There's going to be, I don't know how much movement there's going to be. You saw a lot of, I get back to Peter King's mock draft. He said that the Niners really broke the market for trades. So you don't know how many teams are willing to give up a lot, what the price is going to be for picks. So that's going to be something very interesting to watch on draft day. I do believe you should see a trade within the top 10 because one of the quarterbacks is going to fall. And the quarterback in this draft, Justin Fields, is falling to Denver at pick 9. I don't need to question this. I have zero faith in Drew Lock. You want one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in this draft. If you're the Denver Broncos, Justin Fields is right there. I think Mac Jones would be a great fit for them at 9, but Justin Fields is there at 9. I think you have to take him. The only other option I could see would be Micah Parsons because Denver, whenever they need a linebacker, they capitalize on it. Vic Fangio has always worked really well with the middle linebacker. He doesn't really have that in Denver, and he's on the hot seat. So I could see all 3 of those options, but Justin Fields, if he is on the board at 9, I think Denver has to take him.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So again, I think you could see New England trade up, Chicago and Washington trade up for a QB in 8. At number 9 with Denver, Vic Fangio was a defensive coordinator in Chicago before he made his way over to Denver. I don't know if his real power is fixing that offense. And I happen to think he's going to go out and try to build a lethal secondary like he had in Chicago with Kendall Fuller and Eddie Jackson, 2 guys that I think are still there now.
He brought in Kyle Fuller to Denver.
Okay.
So Kyle Fuller was on the Bears. Now he's with Denver, and they brought in Ronald Darby as well.
Yeah, so they're definitely trying to beef up that secondary because it was a mess last year.
Awful.
And can you really ever have too many cornerbacks? I don't have much faith in Drew Lock either, but I think give him a chance. Jerry Jeudy wasn't great last year. You got to give him some time. And Drew Lock has had a
Cortland
tough
Sutton had an
time.
injury.
Yep, Drew Lock has had a tough time really transitioning in. I think next year, if they're in the same boat, yeah, you take a quarterback without a doubt. I can see them taking a cornerback here, trying to beef up that secondary. And Patrick Surtain is sitting nice and pretty there. Wouldn't be shocked.
Interesting. I do think Surtain would be a good fit. I also think if they wanted a cornerback, maybe trading down could be a good option because I think I've said this so many times. I'm going to keep saying this. If Surtain is there at 10, Dallas is going to take him unless Kyle Pitts is on the board. That's too perfect of a fit right there. Also, if Denver wants a quarterback, Deshaun Watson, his name's been kind of quiet real quick. Do you think he's going to be on the move? Because right now it seems like Denver's the only team in the market for a quarterback.
That situation is a mess. There's been no real clear cut idea of what's actually going on either side. It's too much of a circus. I don't think nobody's making a move for Watson.
Yeah, I think until his legal matters get truly figured out, I don't think Watson's going to go anywhere. Now, had you asked me a month ago or 2 months ago before all this came out, I would have said there is zero doubt in my mind Deshaun Watson will not be a Houston Texan come September. But then some other stuff came out, and now I don't know if he's going to be moving.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation. That's why I've kind of stayed away from him, but just wanted to bring up that comment right there.
Yep.
So, yeah. So cornerback I can definitely see, but Rohit and I, unfortunately for you, Adam, have voted Justin Fields if that vote is still good for you, Rohit.
Yeah, because my rationale here is that, well, as Brian Paul just said, Drew Lock in division with Mahomes and Herbert isn't going to cut it. And also, Fangio's kind of on the hot seat. I mean, yeah, he's an old school guy. He probably wants to beef up that defense, get a bit more physical on the defensive side of the ball. But at the same time, when you're on the hot seat, at this point, you got to throw your original philosophy out the window, swing for the fences, get the flashy pick. Here, you have the flashy pick sitting right in front of you in Justin Fields. It'll buy you some equity with the ownership and the fans.
Definitely. Totally with you on that. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm voting Patrick Surtain. Do you guys vote the same?
Yeah, Patrick Surtain to those Dallas Cowboys.
Is too perfect of a fit. And
it is.
Linking him up with Trayvon Diggs is just going to be perfect. I will be shocked if Kyle Pitts is gone and Patrick Surtain's on the board and the Cowboys pass on him. I will be shocked. Yep. That's how certain I believe this pick is. I will bet a lot of money on that pick. If
Dallas is 100% in my mind taking a cornerback. No doubt. Whether it's Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech.
You think that if Pitts was on the board, do you think they would go corner still?
No, we've heard Jerry Jones is enamored with Kyle Pitts. I can see him obviously taking Pitts if he's still there.
Definitely.
Here's a wild thought. What if they trade up for Pitts because if they're that enamored, we could see them trade up for a tight end.
There was a report that came out. I forget who it was from, but they're not willing to do that apparently.
Yeah, I do remember seeing.
Wait, the Cowboys are actually making the smart decision. What year is this?
It's been about 30 years since they've done anything.
Exactly. It's crazy, but I do think they're going to sit tight at 10. You have a good option with Surtain, good option with Pitts. Could be Farley too. I do think Farley is going to drop a pretty big bid in this draft, considering the injury concerns, rawness. I think you're going to see a common theme maybe of guys who played 1 year, who played 1 year, I should say, who opted out of this year, possibly falling in this draft. I think there could be a very common theme of that. So
totally agree.
That'll be something to keep an eye on. But now, Adam, we are at your New York Giants. So how about you give your whole spiel on it? We gave a pretty big spiel on the Niners. So the floor is yours. Tell us who you want and who you think the Giants are going to draft.
Now, so I've heard Dave Gettleman is big on Devonta Smith. Now, as a Giants fan, I want them to have a lethal defense. And Micah Parsons is still there, and he is a ridiculous athlete. And while Blake Martinez is our primary linebacker and we have Lorenzo Carter, there's room for Micah Parsons, 100% in my mind. And putting him on a defense with Leonard Williams, James Bradbury, they have a stacked defense back there that is honestly the cushion of that team because Daniel Jones is not the quarterback of the franchise, is not the quarterback of the future, excuse me.
Interesting.
And I think giving him more weaponry. Yeah, we went out and got Kenny Galladay already. I don't know if we need to spend another pick on Devonta Smith. And I do have some concerns about his size. So I think they're going to go for the defensive pick. Me and my friends, whenever we talk Giants draft, Micah Parsons is the number one name. If he is still there, there are some teams that might want to take him in the top 10, but it's not exactly likely. If he is there, I hope that they take Micah Parsons.
Roth, what you got to say about that? I do believe that Micah Parsons.
I have two questions before I give my vote. I have two questions. Firstly, what's the offensive line situation for the Giants? And two, what defensive scheme do they run?
It's a 3-4 scheme.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
the Giants need to stop drafting offensive tackles. We don't develop them. Like Andrew Thomas last year was not a great fit. They should have taken Tristan Wirfs. I had him as the mock, and they took Andrew Thomas. They have taken a ton of offensive tackles. They have Matt Pert, Andrew Thomas, Nate Soldiers coming back from opting out. They've got a lot of guys already there that drafting an offensive lineman probably isn't the smartest idea.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the right idea about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that case, then it's a match made in heaven. Micah Parsons.
So 2 votes for Micah Parsons. That's interesting. I definitely can see Micah Parsons. It's between Parsons or Smith for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. I do believe I'm going to go Parsons, though, because they did bolster their wide receiver core with Kenny Galladay. Maybe John Ross could do something. I don't really know. I also do think Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard could provide a little bit to this team as well. So I'm not.
Don't forget Catman.
What did you say? Oh, Catman too.
Catman.
Dante Pettis. There you go. Yeah. But I definitely think, and then you look at this deep receiver class. You can get a guy later if you want. Mm-hmm. Micah Parsons. I've also heard teams. I've heard reports that teams can move the edge. That's a position of need for the New York Giants.
Yep.
So I do like Micah Parsons at 11 as well. So unanimous decision from Micah Parsons going to the New York Giants.
He's a ridiculous athlete, and I'd love to see him in a Giants uniform.
Absolutely, man. All right, let's move on to pick 12. So the Eagles, the top 3 receivers are off the board. That's probably their biggest need. What do you think they do here? And if you want to see team needs real quick, they have team needs list. I might as well just pull it up really quickly if you want to scan around. Quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, tight end. What do you think they do at pick 12? Whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Much to Adam's chagrin, I think Howie Roseman actually makes a decision with half a brain this time instead of 0 brain. And he actually gets Jalen Hurts someone to work with. I'm going Devontae Smith.
Oh, I didn't even notice he was on the board.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that. I'm sorry. Devontae Smith is my vote here. I apologize for that. I don't know why I thought he was off the board, but Devontae Smith's my vote here. That's an easy pick for me.
Now, I totally agree with you guys. Devonta Smith is the unanimous decision here. I don't know if he's going to make it here. The top 10, the way we have it, is pretty clear, but I just don't know if he's going to make it to number 12. I have a feeling Gettleman is probably going to steal him at 11. And Howie Roseman and those Eagles, man, they're not that smart. And it's tough to watch what they've done with that Super Bowl winning team. You know what? They got old, but they have also made a lot of bad trades. Their draft picks have not panned out. They took a wide receiver in the first round last year, and Jalen Reagor. He didn't pan out. They went out, they traded Carson Wentz this offseason to Indianapolis, which is crazy. And Jalen Hurts is their new franchise guy. So, yeah, they should go out and get him help. I just don't know if they will.
Yeah, I think wide receiver is hands down their biggest need. Offensive lineman, you could see as well. They've had some injuries there. But if Devontae Smith's on the board, I think you have to take him. I don't think there's any question about that. So, yeah. All right.
Hopefully the Eagles can actually develop a guy this time.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. All right, we're through the top 12. Let's look at the Chargers at 13. And 49er Media says right here, could you see the Chargers trading up for Pitts? And my answer to that is no, because they need help on the offensive line badly. So, and luckily for them, there's good offensive linemen here. My pick for this would be, if I scroll down a little bit, Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. I know there's been reports that he could fall, but in my opinion, he can play anywhere on the offensive line. They lost their left tackle. They lost their left guard. I think you can fill him in wherever they need him. And I definitely think right now he's my offensive lineman number 3. So I would really, I think it would be a great fit here. Also, Oakland kid, can't go wrong with that.
Agree.
Do you think? Wait, do you think Darrisaw can play left tackle?
Darrisaw is a left tackle.
Well, honestly,
Vera Tucker, just for reference, he played right guard, and then left tackle last year.
I mean, the versatility makes him tempting, but I'm gonna go with the specialist left tackle in Darrisaw. Protect Herbert's blind side. Invest in your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Now with the Chargers, if they're going to trade up, it's not going to be for Pitts. It's going to be for Penei. It's going to be for
Rashawn Slater.
It's just or Rashawn Slater. But I would say if you're trading up, you're swinging for the fences. You're going for the big one, and you're going to try and get Justin Herbert's left tackle from college, which would be really cool reuniting in LA. But I can see them sticking with that tackle and taking Jared Shaw out of VT.
Christian Darrisaw, the pick is right there. And also, I'm a bit lower on Christian Darrisaw. I have him as my tackle 6 behind. The guys on the board I have Darrisaw behind are Vera Tucker, Tevin Jenkins, and Sam Cosmi. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit lower on Christian Darrisaw, but I definitely think this 13 and 14 range he's going to be taking because I think these would be 2 great fits for him right there. So Christian Darrisaw, the pick is. You guys voted for that. I'll sit this one out and give you guys that pick. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, though, this is where Elijah Vera Tucker would go because their offensive line is a bit of a mess right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they have an awesome offense. I totally agree. That's where Vera Tucker is going to go if he's still there. They have an awesome offense in Minnesota. You have Kirk Cousins, who's a pretty good quarterback, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook. I don't think I need to say anything more about those guys. They're all really, really talented football players. And giving Kirk Cousins some protection to allow him to get the ball out a little easier, best move.
Definitely. I'm totally with you on that. I think they need a bit more protection, help out Kirk Cousins. I've been talking to this Vikings fan a lot recently. He says that Zimmer's the problem, but offensive line is going to be a big key to this season for the Minnesota Vikings. They did get better in free agency, in my opinion. Could be a big season. We'll have to see.
I mean, now you got Zimmer's seat is kind of getting warm. I mean, this isn't a flashy pick. Is. This isn't a flashy pick, but I think this is the best pick for him to save his job because that offense is too good to fail.
Yep.
The guy I was talking with is like Zimmer's the problem here. Zimmer's definitely on the hot seat right now. He's one of the guys who could get fired mid-season, in my opinion, if the Vikings are not doing well. So. Mm-hmm. Definitely someone to watch out for. I think you got to protect your quarterback with this pick.
Yep.
Totally and now you got New England. Is this where Mac Jones goes?
I mean, New England's such a fascinating team because they have possibly the best coach in the NFL and one of the just smartest GMs tied up in the same thing. Bill Belichick is an absolute mastermind. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And look, they re-signed Cam Newton. Not the answer. The Patriots are a team that I can see trading up. They have not drafted well recently, but they've also been drafting at the back of the first round. I can see them trading up and trying to snag Justin Fields a little earlier. But if Fields is gone like he is in this draft, yeah, Mac Jones is probably going to be their guy.
Rose, what you got to say about that?
I think it's Mac. You got to go with need here, and I think this is a bit of a reach. I'm really not that high on Mac Jones, but I think you're gonna get desperate because it's a need.
Total need.
It's their biggest need for the team. Personally, I don't have that much faith in Cam Newton, if any faith in him. I think Mac Jones, if he's there at 15, I do think the New England Patriots should take him, but expect a trade up from New England. I do think this is a team that will probably trade up. You've heard rumors that they are going to trade up, and you don't usually hear that from a team like New England. So
New England's probably moving up, and there are teams in Atlanta and Carolina that are probably going to look to move down, and possibly even Detroit might want to move.
You've also heard rumors. My thing with Detroit, though, is that I bet they're moving down because they don't think they can make a move up and get Jamar Chase. which is interesting. So that's why my last mock, I mocked Detroit trading up to 4 to get a guy like Jamar Chase, because I think that would be the perfect fit for them. If it's not Jamar Chase, I think Jalen Waddle will be the option, as we mocked right there. But yeah, so, and back to New England, let's just let Bills dogmate the pick. Nike, do it again, as 49er Media says, and then he'll take Mac Jones, quarterback of the future for the New England Patriots. All right, moving on to 16, the Arizona Cardinals. Another easy pick for me right here, looking at the board. It's J.C. Horn, in my opinion. I do believe that right now, you look at this board, he is the best cornerback available according to this board. And on my board, he's the best cornerback available. This dude's a beast, and Arizona needs a quarterback. And speaking of J.C. Horn, this is a guy who compares himself to none other than former Cardinals cornerback Patrick Peterson. Cliff Kingsbury's worked with him for a few years. I think he can fit in that mold really quickly for a team that's in win-now mode. He fits the mold. I think this would be a perfect fit for the Arizona Cardinals.
I mean, it's a perfect match.
Yeah, match made in heaven. They definitely could use a cornerback after losing Patrick Peterson, who had been a franchise cornerstone there. So definitely taking J.C. Horn is a good bet.
Absolutely. J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain, 2 perfect fits at 10 and 16. And now you got the Raiders. This is the most interesting pick in the draft. As always, they always like to throw some sort of curveball in there. I've mocked a lot of people here. One guy I mocked, and I'm not going to do it in this one because I don't think you guys would agree with this. Landon Dickerson's one of the people I've mocked here. It's crazy.
No, it's too high.
It could. I mean, they took Damon Arnett last year at 19, Cleveland Farrell at 4.
I mean,
could be interesting.
My problem is with Vegas is that they really try to get overly cute sometimes, and they throw the curveball for the sake of throwing the curveball. Just sometimes you just gotta stick to the bread and butter. You don't have to get way too cute with it. So I think they're gonna take the best of player available based on their need. So what is their biggest need?
Anything defense. I think you could go D tackle. They lost Mo Hurst and replaced him with Solomon Thomas, who's really not that good. Linebacker and their secondary. Their defense was just atrocious last year. I have a really good friend who's a Raiders fan. He says the 4 most likely picks, if you guys from him, are Owusu-Koramoah, Barmore, Trayvon Moehrig, and I forget the other guy. If I go to defense really quickly, it might be Caleb Farley, I think. But honestly, I do believe that if you're okay, go ahead.
I'm tempted to say it's Barmore because wasn't their run defense completely atrocious last year?
Their defense in general were completely atrocious last year. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what happens. I'm going to go here. Here's my pick. This is going to be a bit of an interesting pick. I'm going to go Trayvon Moehrig. And the reason why is because you're in the division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. And your secondary is one of the worst in the league. You need help in the secondary. And this is one of the weakest safety classes I've ever seen. I think you got to get your safety early. Trayvon Moehrig is what many people would say was the best one in this class. However, the other name you could see as a shocker here, Andre Cisco out of Syracuse. I've seen a lot of people say that he's the number 1 safety in this class. That could be a shocker at 17. In my opinion, he's probably a round 2, round 3 guy. Actually, more round 3, round 4. Do not be surprised if the Raiders do Andre Cisco at 17. If they take him, I'm just going to clip this and post it. I'll just put on the tinfoil hat, whatever you want to say. But I think if you want to play it safe, I think you go Trayvon Moehrig at 17.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders' defense was absolutely atrocious. Now, they had a pretty solid offensive line. Do they think about beefing that up, giving Josh Jacobs a little bit more running room and Derek Carr some more protection? It's a weird angle to play because it's not the most necessary one, but it's one that I have read a couple of times through a few analyst mock drafts.
They did also I just want to put it out there. They did lose. They traded Gabe Jackson. They lost Richie Incognito. Oh wait, no, they brought him back. I'm sorry. Did they? I don't even know.
They traded someone to Seattle, and then they traded Gabe Jackson to Arizona, I think.
Yeah.
It's the other way. Gabe Jackson to Seattle, Rodney Hudson to Arizona, and Trent Brown to New England. So those are 3 guys, and they do have a replacement at right tackle. They also have Richie Incognito, but center and right guard, they did extend their center, who he's meh. That's why I kept mocking Landon Dickerson there as a shocker because he brings that leadership component, which the Raiders absolutely love. If you want a guard or a tackle, I would probably go Tevin Jenkins. I've heard that he can slide in the right guard right there. And if you look at the guards, there's no one really available. But again, it's the Raiders. They could go for someone like Deontay Brown. I don't really know. Probably way too high. But or Liam Eichenberg could be another guy. Exactly. There's always going to be a curveball with the Raiders.
They're the Raiders. A curveball is an understatement for what they throw. They're out here throwing a Zach Greinke style ephus. The Raiders have over the past few drafts just absolutely shocked me. But they should 100% be going defense. There's absolutely no reason they shouldn't. And their linebacker core was not good last season. Not good at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go with JOK out of Notre Dame.
Oh, so this is interesting. I think this is the first pick we have where we have three
different people. So the one thing I can see JOK here. The one thing I want to say about Barmore is that I do believe you saw there was a report yesterday from Ian Rappaport. By the way, guys, if you're in the comments, you can put in the chat who you think the pick should be. If there's a unanimous decision in the chat, I'll just go with that. Yep. But one of the reasons I don't think it's Barmore is because there was a report that came out a few days ago that he's a problem with coaches. Now the Raiders, I mean, they took Arden Key in 2018, but that was under a different GM. They did have the same coach with Gruden. So I don't know if Barmore could be the picker. I've also seen Davion Nixon out of Iowa mocked here, but Barmore is definitely the better player. So I'm with you. It could be defense. We have one vote for JOK. If we don't get any other votes, I think we're just going to go JOK. I could really see all three players going there. I actually like JOK a lot. I mean, if you want to talk about big school, JOK and Barmore are two big school guys. TCU, bit smaller. It's Big 12. You don't really look at that Big 12 defense, those Big 12 defenses that often. So could be JOK. We have one vote in the chat for JOK. That's the majority. I'm just going to call it right there. JOK to the Raiders. You win, Adam.
Awesome. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders go something that they kind of don't need in like a wide receiver and go with like a Rashad Bateman or someone of that nature because it's the Raiders. Nothing really surprises me with them.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Miami's second first-round pick. This is probably this is another one of the most interesting picks in this draft. They could go a lot of different directions here. You could go offensive line, maybe. I actually offensive line, probably not. You could go Najee Harris here. You could go on the defensive side. You could get another linebacker. I think it's actually scratch that. I think it's between edge and running back. But right here, I'm going to go with my favorite edge in this class. Not necessarily the best, but definitely my favorite, Jalen Phillips from Miami. This dude's a beast. He does have some health concerns, which is why his stock is low, but this dude's a beast. If you have not watched his tape, and by the way, the tape I watched on Jalen Phillips is tape from guys like Christian Darrisaw. I'm watching Darrisaw. Let's watch Christian Darrisaw. I see this other guy on the other side of the line just getting 4 sacks. This dude is absolutely ridiculous. Azeez Ojulari is another great option right here. That's another edge I really like. But I'm going to go Jalen Phillips. Also, you got that Miami connection. It could work out really well. And also, Miami does have that 3-4 scheme. The Miami University, the University of Miami has that 3-4 scheme. Same with the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to go Jalen Phillips. I think that's the best scheme fit right here. Could go Rousseau as well, but I like Phillips a bit better.
I'm going with the safer Miami edge rusher and go. I'm voting Rousseau.
You think he's hold on? You think Rousseau's a bit safer?
I mean, in terms of like the health concerns and stuff like that, compared to Jalen.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say Rousseau only played 1 year at Miami. I think Rousseau could fall the first round if I'm being honest. That's my.
I mean, he
because
could.
he had that
I'm
one.
just saying.
He's
right there.
He shouldn't, but he definitely could.
Yeah, I'm willing to take a flyer on that talent, and he has a cleaner bill of health than Phillips.
All right, so I'm going to flip over to the offense. I think it's super, super important in my mind that the Dolphins really take care of the offense. Their defense wasn't much of a problem last year. Yeah, you can always make improvements, but their defense wasn't much of a problem. I felt like the defense was actually just carrying the offense for most of the season. I'm going to give Tua another Alabama weapon. No, actually not Alabama weapon. We have Jamar Chase going there. I thought they had Jalen Waddle for a second. Excuse me.
We have DeMar Chase, yeah. But
so
you're going to give them Najee Harris?
I'm going to have them taking Najee Harris. I think first of all, the Dolphins went running back by committee the whole season. They were using just a bunch of random no-names who I'm totally blanking on right now because they switched every 2 weeks. And I think
Matt Breida, Sullivan Ahmed, what's his face? Miles Gaskin, Jordan Howard.
None of the just take all the 49ers rejects and put them into one backfield.
Pretty much.
They basically did.
But none of those guys are really like starting running back caliber, in my opinion. And I think the Dolphins are just going to fix that and go with Najee Harris.
I just realized that my mic wasn't on this entire time. I was using my AirPods. My audio. Hang on one sec. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better. That really sucks. I have this mic plugged in. Didn't use it. Okay, but now we're back. We'll stick with this. The AirPods aren't that bad. The mic's just a bit better. But Adam, unfortunately for you, we did have 2 defense over 1 offense. So I think I'm going to go with the defense. You have the final say. I will give you the final say on who this defensive player could be.
Now Rousseau played 1 season. In that 1 season, he was a force and a half. And I think for the Dolphins, who have just picks galore, they had a lot last year. They have some more this year. And I think they still have quite a few going into next year from that great fire sale a couple years ago. I think they're going to take at least a flyer on the Miami kid of Greg Rousseau and go with him.
Gregory Rousseau, it is then. We'll take Gregory Rousseau with the 18th pick right there. Mm-hmm. Washington is on the clock next. This is another interesting situation. I mean, there's no quarterbacks available. I would go tackle here. And the best one available, in my opinion, is Tevin Jenkins. So I'm going to go Tevin Jenkins here. He's a swing tackle, can kick inside the guard, gets that versatility. A lot of people seem to be high on him as well. So I'm going to go Tevin Jenkins. He's my tackle 4 here. And tackle 4 in this draft. I do believe he's a bit better than Sam Cosmi. It's close, though. But if you do want a pure left tackle, you go Cosmi. If you want that swing guy, go Tevin Jenkins. I think it's going to be one of those 2. And I'm going to take the guy who I think is a bit better and more versatile for an offensive line that does have a bit of question marks on it, Tevin Jenkins.
Honestly, realistically, I could see Washington trading up to try and get a quarterback. And my original plan was to make a joke about how Dan Snyder always wants to pick Alabama guys and go Najee Harris. But realistically, I'm with you, Sam. I like the versatility that he I forgot his name already. Fine.
Tevin Jenkins.
Jenkins, thank you. I like the versatility that Jenkins brings.
Yeah, I agree with the versatility. Now, I would say they need a quarterback, but they have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, sure, is he a winner? No, but he also hasn't been on a lot of real winning teams. And I think they can roll with Fitzpatrick. He's got a solid receiving core. They picked up Curtis Samuel. They have Terry McLaurin. Antonio Gibson was a great surprise for them last year. So they have a pretty good offense. I think you give Ryan Fitzpatrick a little bit of protection, help Anthony Gibson out, give him some extra holes to run through, pick an offensive tackle in Tevin Jenkins.
Unanimous pick right there with Tevin Jenkins. I also do think for quarterback, I would not be surprised if they wait till the 2nd round and go a guy like Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond. I think that would be a great landing spot for either of those 2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right, Chicago at 20. Whoever wants to start this off, go ahead, because this is another pick where they could go many different directions.
Yep.
And also, if by the way, I don't think I told you guys this, if you want me to scan around, look at other positions like that, just let me know.
Okay? According to PFF, what do they have as or PFN in this case? What do they have as a position of need?
Positions of need, they have quarterback, cornerback, tackle, wide receiver, defensive tackle. And I do think tackle and wide receiver are probably the biggest ones. I would not be surprised if they go corner, though, as well.
I mean, it's like you said, there's so many directions they can go in. And honestly, this is another team that could trade up for a quarterback, but I can just as easily see them trading either back into the 1st round or trading completely out of it just to get more picks. There's so much there's so much confusion here, honestly, simply because it's who do they want?
Chicago really, they have 1,000 different directions to go. I can actually, it's interesting that you bring that up. I can see them trading out of the first round, pick up some extra picks later, or maybe
I mocked that in my last draft, actually. To
maybe
your Giants, actually.
yeah, maybe some future picks in next year's draft. I don't think they need this first round pick, to be honest. I mean, look, every team could probably use a first rounder, but they don't really have any glaring needs other than, I would say, quarterback. But you should not dig for a quarterback when you can probably just trade back and grab a Kyle Trask or a Kellen Mond later.
Absolutely. So now, but unfortunately, we're not doing trades, obviously. So
yeah, unfortunately,
the pick here, I think if you want a quarterback, I think you need protection for that quarterback. But I don't know. Sam Cosmi, they already have a left tackle. It's interesting. I think you would probably go maybe wide receiver, get a bit of help.
Who's their current left tackle?
Charles Leno.
Yeah,
Do you think they can slide him to right tackle?
I don't know. It's interesting.
I think he was playing right tackle for a little while last season because Chicago had a couple offensive line injuries. I drafted David Montgomery in fantasy last year, so I was following Chicago's offensive line situation, and it was bad. I mean, the play calling definitely didn't help, but their offensive line play was pretty atrocious. And I think they'll probably go and try to beef up that O-line if they do decide to use this pick. And there is definitely, I would say, a consensus top tackle out there out of the great UT Austin, who every year they say they're back, but they never really are back. But Samuel Cosmi out of UTA is probably where I'd go.
Yeah, I'm going Cosmi.
Cosmi again. All right, perfect. So Sam Cosmi, I would personally go. It's interesting. I'm going to go Cosmi, I guess. Wide receiver, you could go a Kadarius Toney could make sense, or Rashad Bateman could make sense. Again, it's a deep wide receiver class, but Sam Cosmi bolstering up that offensive line right
I think they should, if they're going to use this pick, capitalize on David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. Them and Allen Robinson are your best offensive weapons.
Is Tariq Cohen still on the team?
Tariq Cohen tore his ACL last year. He's coming back. They gave him an extension like a week before, and the next week he just destroyed it. But he's supposed to be back this season, and he's more their receiving back. So it gives you another little almost slot receiver offensive weapon type. So definitely beefing up that O-line is very helpful for the run game. Gives, I guess, Nick Foles is their starting quarterback, which is really not great. Gives Nick Foles a little bit of extra time to help him get the ball off.
Absolutely, for sure. All right, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts at 21. This is a possible offensive line spot. They did lose Anthony Castonzo. They did get Sam Tevi, which I think is fine. But right now, looking at the offensive lineman, it doesn't seem like the value is there at the moment. So I would probably go to edge and take a guy like Azeez Ojulari. I think that would be a great fit for this team. Azeez Ojulari at 21.
I'm with you there. However, what is kind of concerning is that there have been reports coming out lately that he might have a knee issue, but I don't think we know how severe it is.
I haven't heard anything about that. So
yeah, I haven't seen anything related to him there. Indianapolis's defense was a lot of fun to watch last season. They had a good secondary. Their linebacker core was okay, but Darius Leonard will anchor that for years to come, so I'm not too worried about that. And their defensive line was just DeForest Buckner is absolutely ridiculous.
Beast.
And I think you give them an extra edge there in either Azeez Ojulari or Kwity Paye, who seems to be falling lately. Some people had him going to the Giants a week or two ago. So I can see them definitely just saying, let's have the best defense in the league. Let's take Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm going Azeez Ojulari at 21 is they do run a 4-3 scheme. Michigan ran a 3-4. I think Azeez Ojulari would be a bit of a better pick for the Indianapolis Colts and a bit of a better fit. All right, 22 to Tennessee. This is another spot where you're going to see a lot of guys falling. A lot of your mock drafts, you're going to see good edges falling like Kwity Paye. You're also going to see a bit of cornerbacks falling like Greg Newsome, like Caleb Farley. I think those are their two biggest positions of need right now. I want to hear, Adam, how about you start this off? What position do you think they're going to go with? Or is there another position that you want?
The Tennessee Titans, in any mock draft I have done, they just confuse the heck out of me. They are a team I don't really know where they can go. They lost Corey Davis to free agency. Their defense was good, not great. And they still have Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. And I don't really know what their tight end situation is, but they're not going to be drafting a tight end. They did get burned offensive line-wise by Isaiah Wilson not being what he was supposed to be. So they definitely might look to go back into the offensive tackle pot. But as we just said with Indianapolis, not enough bang for your buck there at 22. But I can see them trying to go out and replace Corey Davis. They do need somebody to line up opposite A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a baller. He's awesome. I love watching my kid play. And a kid that can definitely sneak into that first round is Rashad Bateman. I don't always have him in the first round, but I think when push comes to shove, Tennessee is probably just going to look to say, we got to get somebody to line up against A.J. Brown, or they're just going to triple cover him. So putting Rashad Bateman out there with him is a great move.
Yeah, I think Rashad Bateman could be actually, now that I think about it, I think that would probably be one of the better moves for Tennessee, because you look at the offenses in that league. The defense, you have the Texans' offense is terrible. The Jaguars' offense, it's up and coming, but you can wait a little bit because Trevor Lawrence, you're going to need some development for that team. And then the Colts offense it's better. It's not the best. Mm-hmm. The defenses in that league are a bit tougher with Indy, but then you also have Houston's D and Jacksonville's D, which are just atrocious. So I think I'm going to go Rashad Bateman as well at 22.
Yeah, I mean, down in the AFC South, the Colts are the power there right now, and the Titans are a close second. But there are two bottom feeders for the AFC in Houston and Jacksonville, and we'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson over in Houston. But they're in deep trouble.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, moving on to the Jets at 23. This is another spot. They could go a lot of different ways here. I would assume it's defense. It's interesting. The one guy I want to take is a Fada Melifonwu from Syracuse, a very gritty guy that you could have on Robert Saleh's defense. I think Robert Saleh loves guys like him. But again, he doesn't like to draft cornerbacks that early. I think edge was very popularly mocked to them, but I don't know if they want to go edge this early. They got guys like Carl Lawson in free agency. Vinny Curry's still on the team.
What's the linebacker situation?
They have CJ Mosley. They have Gerard Davis. I think they're set at linebacker right now.
They have an okay defense, but Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. What scheme does he run?
He runs a 4-3.
4-3.
He runs a 4-3. All right. Well, hearing that makes this a lot easier. I'm going to go with Kwity Paye out of Michigan, a guy who, again, I mentioned he's falling, and I think running a 4-3, putting him on that line with Kenan Williams is a great move.
Here's what's going to be interesting. Does Saleh bring the wide 9 to New York?
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely think Kwity Paye would make sense here. ETN, I've seen him mocked a lot of places. I don't think that's going to happen because that system doesn't really like drafting running backs early. I think Kwity Paye would make a lot of sense here. Greg Newsome is another guy. But if you want a guy who can be like that Robert Saleh pick, I think Kwity Paye would be the best option as well. So I'm going to go Kwity Paye. Exactly. Plus, all right, so Kwity Paye.
I also think it gives Saleh a chance to bring back the wide 9, except make it Broadway.
Exactly. That could be a very interesting thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 24, Pittsburgh. I was going to go offensive line. Again, there's not really any available. You could take Liam Eichenberg here, but I doubt it. I think you can wait until round 2, get a guy like Eichenberg or like Radens or like Alex Leatherwood. So I'm going to go their next biggest need, running back Najee Harris.
Honestly, I think this might be a place where Pittsburgh reaches. I honestly think they go Kyle Trask, have a guy who sits behind Ben here, then let him loose. Because let's be honest, Ben is beyond his last move. He's just being stubborn. He wants the money. And
Oh, definitely.
Next year's quarterback class isn't that great.
Yeah.
I think this is a good spot for Pittsburgh to pretty much take a flyer on somebody. And you kind of have a 1 year period to see what he's got. And you have a year to help groom him.
Now, Pittsburgh is another team. Now, I'm going to probably go with Najee Harris here, but Pittsburgh is a team that actually, thinking about the Kyle Trask pick, that's really an interesting angle. That is not one that I was thinking about, but thinking about it, if they want to take Kyle Trask, they should not do it here. They should trade down and take him later, try and maybe get, again, some later round picks or some future picks for next year's draft. But get a guy, that's a really good move. Big Ben, well, he's being stubborn now and his arm's a bit of a mess. He's still got a lot of experience, and he can definitely pass that off to a guy in Kyle Trask. But they're still at 24 right now, and because we're not doing any trades, Najee Harris is still on the board. They have a glaring need for running
back.
Najee Harris is definitely the best bet for them.
I'm totally with you on that. And I do think you could see a reach in Kyle Trask, but my only reason I don't think he would, you have to love him so much. And I think Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Kyle Trask, Jamie Newman, those are 4 guys that I do believe could be starting quarterbacks one day under the right system. So I think you hold off for now on quarterback and wait till round 2, because definitely one of those guys will be available. Maybe even round 3, you could get one of those guys. So it could very much work out. Sam Ehlinger also could be one of those guys, in my opinion. So
Ehlinger went to the draft this season?
Yeah, he's in the draft. It seems like he's been at Texas forever, but now he's in the draft.
Really? I could have swore he was lined up next year. I've heard of him and some Heisman ideas.
Are you thinking of Desmond Ridder?
Oh, possibly. Wow.
Because that's the Cincinnati guy. He was always like QB6, and then he decided to stay in school. Probably will be a first rounder next year.
Okay. Wow.
Wait, is he the Oklahoma guy?
No, this is that's Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Desmond Ridder's from Cincinnati.
Spencer Rattler.
So,
That kid is if we're talking Heisman picks, Oklahoma knows how to take home those Heismans. So
exactly. Definitely
Spencer
right
Rattler.
there. All right, Jacksonville at 25. In my opinion, it's going to be best defensive player available here. Right now, that's Christian Barmore. I don't really need to say much about this. Do you guys have any thoughts on that or any other options?
Now, it's a no-brainer. Go best player available, go best defensive player available, Barmore.
They should be doing that. Could they go out and try and get some protection for their new quarterback or maybe give him a weapon?
I would not be. They did get Marvin Jones in free agency. They still have Chark. I'm very high on Laviska Shenault. I think they're set at receiving, if I'm being completely honest.
And James Robinson was a welcome surprise for that offense.
Exactly. James Robinson could do really well in this system. It did do really well. I also think they also have 33. If they want to get protection later, I think the value is there. And that's why I would go Barmore at 25. Yep. So are we good with that?
Yeah, Barmore is the move.
Perfect. Cleveland. This is another interesting team. I think right now they have one of the deepest teams in the league. I think the one place they could improve on is linebacker. Luckily, there is talent there. So I would go, in my opinion, I think Zaven Collins makes a bit more sense than Jamin Davis. So I would go Zaven Collins. He's also a pretty versatile guy. So he might be moved to edge, which could help them as well. I know that they're pretty good at edge with Clowney, with Takk McKinley, with Myles Garrett. If you want a bit more versatility, Zaven Collins could be your guy at 26.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, I've seen Jamin Davis sort of ranked all over the place on a bunch of mock draft sites. So I wouldn't say he's a consensus number 25.
Exactly.
Zaven Collins has been ranked usually in the high 20s, mid to low 30s. He's probably the smartest pick for them because you're right. Cleveland doesn't need much, but beefing up that linebacker core is definitely their best move.
Definitely. I'm totally with you on that. All right, Baltimore at 27. So they made a trade for Orlando Brown. It looks like they're going to sign Alejandro Villanueva. So now they have 2 picks right here. Their 2 biggest needs, in my opinion, are edge and wide receiver. And I'll let you guys start this off. First of all, I'll start with Rohit. Do you agree that those are their two biggest needs? And if so, who do you think you would go with here?
They
and wide
are
receiver,
their
I'll
two
show right
biggest
here.
Needs, but here's my problem with Baltimore, and it's 2 words: Greg Roman. I don't care who you give him; he's gonna find a way to ruin him. That's Greg Roman's entire shtick. The only reason I'm not gonna give Baltimore wide receivers is because I don't want Greg Roman to ruin him. So I think this might be a place where I'd go with Jalen Phillips out of Miami.
Interesting. There you go.
Now, I think we all know that they are in desperate need of a wide receiver. And yeah, Baltimore has not been good at developing wide receivers lately. Just look at poor Marquise Brown. But I think you look at the next 2 teams on that board in New Orleans and Green Bay. Green Bay is probably going to look to avoid taking a wide receiver, and we'll get there in a minute.
I'm with you. Yeah.
New Orleans, I wouldn't be shocked if they go out and give Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, whoever wins that starting job, a weapon to line up alongside Michael Thomas. And you could see when Michael Thomas was out last year, it all fell on Alvin Kamara, who performed. He held strong. He held true. But I think you got to get somebody to line up against Michael Thomas. So if I'm Baltimore with this pick, knowing you can probably nab somebody at 31, I'm probably going to go with a wide receiver here. And Terrence Marshall Jr. calling Baltimore's name right now.
I'm actually with you on that. I think Terrence Marshall would be the best pick here.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said it perfectly, Adam. They haven't been developing receivers that well. I think Terrence Marshall has a very high floor. And out of these guys, he has the highest floor, in my opinion. So I would also go Terrence Marshall. So that's 2 votes. But before we make the pick, Rohit, what do you think they would? You already said Jalen Phillips.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I'm going to go Terrence Marshall at 27 as well, and that will be the pick. 28, New Orleans. This is another interesting spot. Could go receiver, could go linebacker as well. I'm going to go, or could go corner too. I've seen that before as well. And Caleb Farley also been falling down this draft. As I said, same with Greg Newsome. Those are 2 guys who have been falling pretty far down this draft. Do you think one of those guys goes here, Adam, or do you think it'll be receiver, or do you think it'll be a linebacker?
I've seen in a lot of places that they're wide receiver needy, which, yeah, it is still crazy to think because they do still have Michael Thomas, who 2 years ago was an absolute force on the field. But there are some pretty nice options for the defense. Greg Newsome is there. Jamin Davis is there. Caleb Farley is still there. I think they're probably going to wind up going defense with this pick. They have Marshawn Lattimore out there in the secondary, and their secondary has been pretty solid over the past couple of years. Their linebacker core has not. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, beef up that linebacker core.
Roth, what you guys say about that?
Weak linebacker core, get Jamin Davis, see if you can shore it up.
All right, Jamin Davis, the pick is right there. I think I would also go Jamin Davis. I do think their linebacker core, they definitely need some help there. Again, deep wide receiver class, could get a guy later. But Jamin Davis, I think, would be a great pick at 28. All right, Green Bay at 29. I think the 2 biggest needs for them are linebacker and corner. There isn't a linebacker I would take here. So let's move on to corner. And you have Greg Newsome, Caleb Farley on the board. You got to take one of those guys, in my opinion. Personally, I would go with Greg Newsome. I think he is a bit, from what they're looking for, they don't need – they need a guy who can come in right away. And I think Caleb Farley is more of a developmental guy. So that's why I would go Greg Newsome. Do you guys agree with that? Or would you go Farley or someone else?
I'm going Newsome. I think Green Bay needs a guy who can step in immediately, see if they can help shore up that secondary. I mean, when you look later in the season, around the second half of the season, that secondary started to get completely torn up. I mean, when you have Richie James going for 180 yards on you, know you're doing something wrong.
Well, that was Jair Alexander was out with a concussion that game. So
Mhm.
I definitely think they.
But still, you have Nick Mullins as a quarterback.
yeah,
Who's still
no,
letting a
I'm
wide
not-
receiver go
yeah.
for 180 yards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They should 100% go. And look, they're going to do the usual. How do we avoid giving Aaron Rodgers a weapon? So getting Greg Newsome is probably going to be a good move for them.
I mean, hey, they got pissed off Aaron Rodgers last year, so do we get pissed off Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, pissed off Aaron Rodgers went out and won MVP for them.
Dude, he is another breed. I'll just tell you that right now.
He really is. Like, Jordan Love is lucky he gets to learn from one of those guys.
Absolutely. Totally with you on that.
Mhm.
All right, Buffalo at 30. This is where I think Caleb Farley goes off the board. I think they do need another cornerback, but you can develop him a little bit. So Caleb Farley. I think it's simple as that.
Yep.
Caleb Farley's definitely the move there. I've seen they're desperate for running back help. They did draft Zach Moss last year, and they still have Devin Singletary. I wouldn't be too surprised if they say, let's go and grab Travis Etienne and roll with him from now on. But they need some secondary help, and that's the best move for them.
Absolutely. Totally with you on that. All right, 31, the Baltimore. They got their receiver earlier. Let's move on to edge. I think we all talked about that. Jalen Phillips is there. Jason Oweh is there. Those are two guys who have Rohit. You obviously voted Jalen Phillips. I assume you're going to do that again.
I'm going
Jason
Phillips
Oweh
again.
has been climbing up boards. He's been skyrocketing up boards lately. I think you could go either of those two guys. If I were Baltimore, I would go Jalen Phillips. So I think you want to take the upside, swing for the fences right there. Go Jalen Phillips. So,
yeah, Jalen Phillips, high ceiling. I'm going to have Baltimore taking him.
definitely. All right, and now the last pick of the draft.
Kind of goes unnoticed is John Harbaugh actually does a pretty good job of developing those defensive guys.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean,
man.
And Phillips has probably one of the highest upsides, probably one of the high ceilings in this draft. I mean, if he can stay on the field, if he can stay healthy, the NFC North better watch out. Joe Burrow's already running for his life. He's going to run for his life even more. Baker Mayfield, Jalen Phillips is feeling dangerous. Big Ben, I don't even need to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, John Harbaugh, thinking about it, is one of the most underrated coaches in the NFL. Everybody knows he's a very good coach, but he is truly an elite developer who has really given that Baltimore team just new life. You see a couple years ago with what he did with Lamar Jackson, it's just unheard of. And I think whoever they take, if they have a high ceiling, John Harbaugh will find a way to capitalize on it.
Definitely. I think Jalen Phillips would be the best pick here as well. All right, 32, final pick of this draft, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whoever wants to start off, go right ahead. There's so many options that this team could go.
According to the website, what's their team needs?
Team needs, I think you could, looking at their team needs for Tampa Bay, running back, defensive tackle, edge, cornerback, guard. I would also put wide receiver on this list as well.
Well, Godwin stuck around and they still have Mike Evans, right?
Yeah,
I mean, why not get a wide receiver 3? Force everything into a one-on-one.
You're reading my mind right now. This is what I would say. So if I go wide receiver, I would go for upside right here. And you want to talk about upside? Give me Rondale Moore.
Yes, let's go.
They don't have Antonio Brown coming back. It seems like Chris Godwin's on the franchise tag, and their cap situation's very thin right now. I think Chris Godwin could be gone after this year. In my opinion, Tampa Bay, I think you gotta get the highest upside at a position that you might need in the future and can contribute right now. That's Rondale Moore, in my opinion.
And so Rondale Moore can do a lot of stuff. I mean, he's not just limited to a receiver. You can give him the ball, have him run around like a running back.
Yep.
Exactly. So I would go Rondale Moore here.
And I believe, I'm gonna go with you guys. Rondale Moore, definitely huge upside there. And I think they don't have a huge need for running back. They still have Ronald Jones, who was pretty good last season, and I believe Leonard Fournette is sticking around in Tampa Bay. So they've got two really good.
Who did they add? They added someone. They added another running back this offseason.
They might have. I know they brought back
Fournette. God, who was it? It was a guy who used. It's not LaShawn McCoy, but it's. Oh, who was that?
Is it a big-ish name? Is it a big-ish name?
It was a big-ish here. Buccaneers.
You
depth
sure it's
chart.
not McCoy? That McCoy sounds right.
It might be. I feel like they brought in someone else. Who is it? Let me look. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. Giovanni Bernard. That's who they brought in.
Right.
Giovanni Bernard, they brought in as well. So I think they're set at running back. I think the team needs thing for PFN is kind of wrong. I think Rondell Moore would be a good pick. By the way, plus 700 on that Bovada. Bet on that if you can bet. That's a great bet for you. Just bet on wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers first position. So that's going to do it for this mock draft. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we end the stream?
I mean, here's the thing. This Thursday is going to be fun in more ways than one. Because we're assuming that teams are going to have half a brain and make actual decisions.
Yeah.
Namely, teams like Dallas and Philly.
I mean, we're not Raiders factoring here. We're not thinking about the Eagles. There are a lot of teams that are going to do their usual and just totally gutterball it. But I think Thursday night's going to be interesting. I'd like to see where the trades happen. The Patriots are a team that is ripe for a trade. I wouldn't be shocked if Chicago trades up. Carolina's probably going to trade down. Atlanta should trade down. They
definitely should.
They don't have a lot of use for that 4 pick. So I think just from the trading perspective, this is going to be a fun draft. You're going to see and hear Mr. Goodell walk up to the podium and say, the number 4 pick has been traded to blank. And you're going to see a lot of chaos.
Mm-hmm. I think it should be a fun night. Should be a fun 3 nights or 3 days, I should say. Draft's always fun, man. That's all I really got to say on that. So
always is.
But guys, that's going to do it for the stream. Unless you guys have any other thoughts you want to say, any final words?
I'm all good. Again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Always a blast having you guys on. Adam, it was great meeting you, having you on for the first time. So yeah, if you want to stick around after, we just like to chit chat usually. But guys, that's going to do it for the stream. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Go Niners.